Have you ever really wanted to get into self-improvement, but only a couple habits are keeping you back? Like you wanted to get a really good grade, but you couldn't push yourself to consistently study. Or you wanted to stop lusting, but you kept on bringing your phone to the bathroom. Well, here are 10 quick and easy habits you can get rid of, or at least understand, on how they prevent you from fully accepting self-improvement. Firstly, waking up with no plan. When you wake up, at least between 7 and 10 a.m., that's when your testosterone is at the highest. That's why men love to get up and immediately they get to work. You don't gotta shower and get ready. You don't gotta put on a fancy outfit. You just get to work. So, knowing that, you have to wake up with a plan. That doesn't mean you need to have your whole day organized or you need to have it all on a calendar, but what are you doing? Maybe if you're going to school, well, you're going to school, and after the school, you're going to the gym. And that's a guarantee. You need to guarantee yourself you're having a plan. For me, I wake up, I go to the gym, I have class, I come home, I make a video, and I can eat in between. But even if I get no food, what matters is that I learn, I get physically active, and spiritually active. So my little habits, including biblical reading or the study of the Bible, is always guaranteed, as when you have a guaranteed morning routine, you can fit in as many habits as you want. Secondly, constant dopamine hits. Being constantly hit with dopamine is going to encourage you to feed off of motivation. Think of it this way. Why do you go to your phone? Well, you feel motivated to go to your phone, and then you are continuously scrolling on your phone for the reason of being given motivation. Like if you're on Instagram, for example, maybe the next reel or the next reel would be interesting to you. And even if none of them are interesting, you're given a little bit of motivation to keep on going. Companies know that, so they fully take advantage of your brain. The thing is though, the less you can use your phone, or at least the less you can use dopamine to motivate you, and the more you can use discipline, the more you can build on habits. Because dopamine, like just with your phone, quietly rewires your attention to feed more attention towards action from motivation momentum and less action towards discipline. That's why it's difficult to go to the gym continuously, consistently, because while it's nice to go when you feel like it, when you treat your brain and your body when you want to feel like it, then you're less likely to actually go when you don't feel like it, which oftentimes is the majority, right? You got to go to the gym and be disciplined, even if you're sick, even if you're uncomfortable, even if it's likely you're not going to have a perfect day. That's what makes your life feel good. When you only go off of motivation, when you only scroll because you feel like it, that is when your life is boring, because it leaves you with being a spectator rather than being a participant in your own life. Number 3, being around weak men. This is a big deal and it's kind of controversial. So we already know you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. But what does that actually mean? It's not like an imaginary number, like your self-worth all of a sudden is at like a level 7 out of 10 or like a 3 out of 10 because of who you're with. Naturally, it's who you are and your identity. Think of it this way, and I'll give you an extreme example. Let's say you hung out with 10 porn stars or 5 porn stars, right? And they invite you to go make porn with them. Now you might say no, and then they're going to invite you again and again, and then one time you'll say yes. Now all of a sudden you're lusting, you're committing adultery, and you're creating pornography. Now, it's an extreme example, but maybe you don't have 10 friends who are porn stars. Maybe you have 10 friends who go partying. Maybe you have 10 friends who go drinking. Maybe you have 10 friends who smoke. Maybe you have 5 friends who are disrespectful. Maybe you have 5 friends who, I don't know, are just going to whine about everything. All of a sudden, it's a bit more acceptable for you to do what they're doing. So don't be around weak men, because your environment greatly determines your standards. And if you were to be around 5 perfectly Christian, hardworking entrepreneurs, all of a sudden there's this new level of standard. There's this new bar that you have to reach. And it doesn't mean your value is necessarily different. It just means you're encouraged to do different things, because weak friends are going to normalize weak habits. So who you are around is who you become. Number 4, never saying no. You need to learn rejection. And I don't mean rejection as in a relationship rejection, like, yes, you need to go and get a bunch of girls to love you and then reject all of them. No, that's not what I'm saying. You need to learn to set boundaries and standards for yourself. Meaning, you got to learn to say no to food, or say no to lustful activities, or saying no to comfort. I mean, after all, comfort leads men down a rabbit hole of poor habits, which is why it's so hard to get out of bed, because you can only sleep in a bed that's comfortable. And yet we want to get up early. So a man's strength is his ability to choose discomfort when it's needed. A man's strength is his discernment, his ability to see beyond the noise, right? We all know what a good man is, but think about from a woman's perspective, from a girl's perspective, right? From a woman of God's perspective. She wants a man who's going to see all the problems before she can even feel them. So if you want to be the man who can see all the problems, he knows everything, You need discernment. You need the ability to say no. You need boundaries, because boundaries are going to build your identity and who you are. And I don't mean that in like a weak way, right? You don't have to say no to things that are objectively good for you. And that doesn't mean you need to push yourself out of your way to say no to people for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I'm saying when you're presented with maybe even a lucrative moment or a lucrative set of scenarios, right? Like someone invites you to a party and all of a sudden you feel like you're wanted, or someone invites you to go get unhealthy food and you feel like, oh, I'll be comfortable eating some food. You have to say no. Think of a beach, for example. I was just learning this recently, but a beach is really stupid. You have so many young women dressing up in bikini when honestly, I just want to see my partner in bikini. I don't want to see other girls in a bikini. And I have to be shirtless because, you know, the cultural standard is guys are going to swim in swim shorts. And it's like, you know, I'm not saying I want to wear a shirt because I'm fat or I'm not happy with my body. I'm really happy with my body, but I don't want to give my body attention towards everyone else. I want my wife and God to see my body. And so even though it's really lucrative, right? I get to show my body off. I get to look at girls in basically underwear because they're wearing bikini, and I get to go swimming and have fun. I have to say no. But that doesn't mean you need to be extremely harsh with yourself. It just means you need to learn to set boundaries against even things that rather seem lucrative. Number 5, avoiding pain or taking the easy path. This is a surefire way of having no ability to do self-improvement or have any habits. It needs to be hard if you really want it. And I mean that. Going to the gym is difficult, not because it's impossible, but because it's kind of hard to lift weights, right? By the nature, it's challenging, and you got to get your way out there. Maybe the gym membership costs money. Maybe there's gas money. Maybe it's freezing cold and you have to walk, like with, I don't know, because you left your jacket back home with no jacket, right? I don't know. Sometimes things are difficult. Studying can be difficult. Having tiny little habits like doing push-ups before going to bed, you can forget that, and thus it's difficult. But you need to have a challenging path, because a challenging path will make you a stronger man. Like calluses, right? You think of the construction worker. He's working his butt off all day, right? He's got like sandpaper for hands, right? But he's hardened, literally hardened, because of his challenging path. So you can enjoy the comfort now, but you're going to suffer later. Or you can be disciplined now and find comfort in discipline and enjoy it later. And that's not some sort of loose promise that I can give you. That's literally how life works, because I am living it. So pain is part of manhood. And if you want to be a good man, sometimes God chooses it for you, and sometimes you bring it into your own life. But pain is necessary. Not punishment, but it's shaping who you are. Number 6, not taking care of your body. I know that's a big deal, right? I was just telling you have to push yourself into areas of discomfort, and now you have to give yourself a spa treatment. No, I'm just kidding. You don't need a spa treatment, but you got to take care of your body. So if you have no sleep schedule, you're cooked. That doesn't mean your sleep schedule can't be inverted, but you need a set period of time that is healthy, that allows you to sleep and recover. You need to sometimes give yourself moments of rest. That doesn't mean skipping out on the gym, but maybe that's just chilling out in your bed for 5 minutes while you play a video game on your phone. Or, you know what, maybe just sit around for a couple seconds just to rest and to have a breather, right? You don't have to always be giving it 100%, but a man who's in self-improvement is going to give his mind and his body a rest. So you need to take care of your body. If you tear your ACL, sure, you can be like David Goggins and run a 230-mile long marathon. Great, you can do that. But you're probably not David Goggins. So take her easy. I'm not saying don't push it, but you need a sleep schedule, right? You need some movement to take care of yourself. You need to eat healthy. You need to bring the right things into your mind, right? Your body's a temple. That's not me saying it. That's the Bible saying that. So if your mind is so precious that you're going to do everything in your power to limit or to encourage specifically only good things entering your mind, surely you only want good things entering your body, right? Number 7, and this is exactly like what I was saying earlier, consuming content you wouldn't want your future self to watch. Or even better, you don't want your son to watch. Imagine this. You're a dad. Yay, congratulations, you're a dad. I'm very proud of you. God is too. But you're a dad. You have a kid. So, do you want your son having the same growing up as you, or the same upbringing as you? I didn't pronounce that properly, but like the same upbringing as you. Do you want him to be introduced to Christ young, or do you want him to go through all these challenges like you or I did to then find him? Do you want him to be bullied because he was overweight, or do you want him to be encouraged by his father? So, just like your son and your future self, you would want to be that same individual. You can't lust, you can't trash yourself with trash entertainment, and you can't be constantly giving yourself negativity. You are your own son, and you are your future self. You're the same guy after all. So quiet, just being nonchalant, just doing nothing with your life is going to slowly kill your spirit, right? But confidence and self-control is going to allow you to rebound, right? So who you feed becomes who you are. So be wise of what you're taking in, information wise, but also just like your body. Number 8, be careful when you're alone with your thoughts. You create who you are. And that's not some sort of like BS way to explain it. You literally create who you are. And that all starts in your mind, your identity, who you think you are. So if you say you're a fat slob, you're a fat slob. But if you say you're an athlete, you're running, even if you're 500 pounds, you're an athlete. You're running. That's great. The best way to lose weight is to say, what would a healthy person do? I want to make money. So the best way to make money is to say, what would a rich person be doing right now? Right? I want to be a good father. I want to be a good man. So what is a good father going to do? What is Jesus going to do? He's a great father. And so we have to realize when you're alone with your thoughts, that's when you're most vulnerable. Not vulnerable to the internet, not vulnerable to others, but vulnerable to yourself. So be wise with what you're taking in. On addition to that, right? Be careful of your addiction to noise, whether it's YouTube or music or scrolling. Sometimes noise is going to kill you. And even if it's just a tiny, tiny little bit, think of scrolling Instagram. You sit down for 60 minutes and you scroll on Instagram or TikTok. You might not be doing anything. You might not actually be contributing to something. But that's 60 minutes you could have been reflecting. And surely you might have had a couple of thoughts, but that tiny bit of attention, like you're sitting like half asleep on your phone, that tiny bit of attention you're giving to your phone prevents you from reflecting. Right? I would walk to the gym, and every day I'd walk to the gym, I would listen to the Bible or I'd listen to music, right? Which are, not horrible things if you think in the grand scheme of things, but simultaneously I couldn't reflect. So now I don't listen to anything. I don't even have my headphones in my ears. So when I walk to the gym or when I walk to class, I'm completely in my own mind and I'm giving myself healthy thoughts and I'm allowing myself to reflect so I can be greater. But you only get the reflection when 100% of your brain power is given to your mind. That means you can't have your phone, you can't have music, you can't have anything, right? Because what happens is all these things prevent reflection. They prevent thus growth and they prevent thus conviction to do things. So stillness is going to make men powerful, being still with yourself. Number 9, you make promises to yourself and then you break them. This is the best way to lose out on self-improvement. This is how everyone burns out. Contrary to popular belief, burnout isn't the overexertion of work. Burnout is when you forget why you're working. And when you can never keep promises to yourself, you lose why you're working. Let's say you're working for a beautiful lady back home and you tell yourself, okay, I promise I'm going to do this for her and I promise I'm going to do this for her. And then you don't follow out on any of your promises. All of a sudden, you forget why you're working for someone and you focus in on your inability to solve problems and follow through with your promises. So you need to follow through with promises if you want to keep them working and to avoid burnout. Because self-trust evaporates when you can't follow through with promises. And self-trust is a big deal. It's not just a made-up thing. It's not just like, you can be disciplined and not have trust. You need to trust yourself. Think of it this way. If you went to the gym 10 years straight, every single day, back to back to back to back, every morning at 5 a.m. in the morning, I just imagine that. Would you go to the gym tomorrow? I mean, absolutely you'd go to the gym tomorrow. You'd have such a large promise with yourself because you would be keeping it simultaneously every single day. So when you promise yourself you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym, or when you promise yourself you're going to go to class early, or when you promise yourself you're going to compliment that woman, or when you promise yourself you're going to eat healthy, you need to follow through with your promises such that, because every broken promise is an identity damage, right? How can you be this person if you can't even keep this promise? And that's a thought you tell yourself every day. That's what I tell myself. How could I be this good man or this godly man if I sleep until 12 p.m.? Because my sleep schedule is messed up, right? You need to keep promises with yourself. And maybe that means starting easy. Maybe the promise is having a bit of water. Maybe the promise is just stopping right now and doing something else. The promises doesn't have to be hard. The fact of the matter is that you can actually keep your promises, because the more promises you can keep, the more outlandish you can go. Think of it this way. If you had so much self-trust that you could promise yourself you'd make $1 million, you'd probably make $1 million. But that only comes with the trust. Because when you tell yourself you can make the promises, and when you can tell yourself the promises, you can then follow through the promises. And it's this insane feedback loop where you say, I promised myself I'm going to make $1 million. And because you always promise yourself, and because you always follow through with the promises, you're more likely to actually work on it. And number 10, this is the biggest one, and this will absolutely destroy your self-improvement, but living without God. The Bible and God as itself is the best way to learn self-improvement. I've literally been studying it. I have a whole document and a huge project I want to launch soon called Project 10 out of 10 out of 10, which is based on specific male self-improvement within the realm of God. Now, of course, this applies to some ladies, right? You have to understand the ladies if you want to be a good man, obviously speaking. But it means getting a 10 out of 10 mind, 10 out of 10 body, and a 10 out of 10 spirit, most importantly. But not based off of what other people say on the internet, based on God and what He wants for us. So the best thing you can do if you want better self-improvement, if you want to be a better man, is to live with God. Because without a spiritual anchor, you have constant emptiness. You have constant moments where you don't know what to do with your life. And that means you need to actually live properly with God. You can't wear a cross and say, I have a godly relationship, even though you don't pray and you don't go to church and you don't read your word. But these aren't hard things. Don't feel shameful for them. I'm not shaming you and I'm not judging you. I'm saying, merely suggesting that if you really want to live a happy and healthy life, a godly life, it's best to pray. It's best to read your word. It's best to go to church. You find the best ladies at church. You find the best connections through prayer, and you find the best knowledge through the word. And so a higher purpose is only ascertainable when you have God, right? Without God, you're going to drift. You're going to find confusion. You're going to find weakness, right? That's not to say all of a sudden when you have a relationship with God, everything is peaches and cream. It's not like everything is easy all of a sudden. It's still difficult, but it is certainly so much better. You know that guilt when you have after you lust, right? You masturbate and you feel horrible, right? That's how you feel when you're a lukewarm Christian. That's how you feel because yeah, I could be better. I just, this is bad, right? That feeling you get is when you're really half in everything. But when you full send it, right? When you really want to full send self-improvement, the best thing you can do is to live with God, right? It doesn't even matter if you're a believer or not. It doesn't even matter if you say you're an atheist. You know, deep down, there's a reason why it works, and it makes sense. But anyways, those are the 10 things. 10 things I wish I was really realizing a lot younger, but surely 10 things, 10 bad habits that are preventing you from being a better man and from learning self-improvement. Anyways, my name is Nolan T. Painter. If you really appreciated this video, please share it with a buddy, right? Because imagine that you actually shared this video to a buddy and he actually became a better person as a result of it. I've had a lot of friends share videos to me and I became a better person, so imagine that, right? And then, you can subscribe, like, and do all that other nonsense. But just stick with me here for this journey because I want to put myself through another crazy point in my life and to become the best version of myself as possible. And I just want to make everyone else become better versions of themselves because surely as a man, I want to live in a world with better, godly men. I'll see you tomorrow.